Is it working? Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Stefan Blamus. I'm really honored to have the honor to moderate this roundtable. The title is about Bankable project, but it's so much more because we have among us a major market infrastructure, a very significant issuer of digital assets, should I say a digital assets based bank, and a digital asset originator. So very quickly we will make a presentation about ourselves before going into the products.
Good afternoon. My name is Paolo Guarnerio. I'm working for SDX as a Senior Business Development Manager. SDX is part of SIX Group. We are running one of the first digital financial market infrastructure in the world for digital security, and since 2 years or so running infrastructure for cryptocurrency.
Hello, hello. Does it work?
Yeah.
I had to take the yellow one. My name is Adrian. You might see Sina Meyer here on the screen. Unfortunately, she's not here today. She had a little emergency, so I replaced her last minute. But I hope I do a good job. So again, my name is Adrian. I'm the head of research at 21 Shares. We are an ETF, ETP provider. We're a Swiss company. And what we do is obviously, we offer and provide very regulated, straightforward financial products to banks, partners, so everyone can invest in crypto, basically. Obviously, we have a track record of 5 years here in Europe, so we've been around for quite some time. And obviously, you might have seen we just opened up the US market. We partnered in the US together with ARK and Kathy Woods, and we launched our first US Bitcoin spot ETF product over there. We're quite happy. We collected over 2.3 billion in the US so far, and in total we're currently standing at around 5.5 billion.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Yves Longchamp. I'm also head of research with my colleagues. I'm working for Amina. Amina, we were formerly known as Seba Bank, but we just changed our name on the 1st of December last year, and the reason is quite simple. There was another bank called SEB Bank, and they existed for much longer than us. So this is definitely the reason, but we keep the same ID. Amina is a bank, so we have a banking license from the FINMA, which is the exact same license as any other banks in Switzerland. And our aim is to bring crypto finance to traditional investors and to bring also some traditional finance to crypto investors. And we provide all the different types of products that you can imagine in the bank, from the investment solutions, can be mandates, can be ETPs, but this is also products that are more specific to a bank, like investment committee, mandates, derivative trading, and spot trading, and so on. And our clients are mainly private clients, can be you, but it can be also institutions, because we have a B2B business, as my colleague in the morning presented in the panel when the Sangala Cantonal Bank and my colleague Christian Bierry behind presented our collaboration with different banks. So we are here in Switzerland and in other countries active in the banking business, in crypto and traditional finance.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Pablo Hodar. I work as investment solution sales at Gen2. Gen2 is also a Swiss company based in Zurich. And we are working on the assetization of assets, meaning that we make any type of asset bankable through a security with an ISIN, so it can be accessible from any broker or bank in the world. We work with partners and clients like Amina, and we are tapping a 78 trillion market opportunity to make assets that currently are not in the financial system bankable and accessible to everyone like you. our clients are asset managers, private banks, PE firms, VCs, so any financial intermediary that is looking for an investment vehicle with an ISIN, we support them in creating such instrument.
And to finish, I will present myself. So Stefan Blemus, I work on digital assets project for 4 years. At first, from an academic perspective, doing a PhD on tokenization capital markets at Sorbonne, and thereafter a postdoc in Copenhagen University on the topic. And from a professional perspective, I was for years Secretary General of Société Générale Forge, which is the dedicated subsidiary on digital assets of Société Générale Group. And I just moved to the law firm White & Case at the beginning of this year, at the crossroads between capital markets and digital assets ecosystem. So maybe to start with the big news of this, should I say, new year 2024, maybe as a following step with regard to the approval by the SEC of the spot ETF BTC based. Maybe a first question to you, Adrian, about precisely at the age of such approval, your perspective on key products of 21 shares which are presently ETP.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, overall, as you know, it's been a massive success in the US. Those ETFs, if we exclude Grayscale, they have far over 10 billion assets under management already, and they did this under 2 months, while it took gold over 2 years. So it's definitely one of the most successful ETF launches in history. And just looking at the market dynamics at the moment, those ETFs buy up between 5 to 10 Bitcoin per day, while there's only being 900 Bitcoin issued on a daily basis. And we see this reflected in the price, because just taking everything into account, also the long-term holder supply, you do see kind of a supply squeeze happening at this point, which is quite fascinating. Other than that, just for the 21 shares business, it was quite surprising to see when we launched the ETF in the US that a lot of people were shouting and asking when we finally have an ETF in Europe. And then we kind of had to remind them that we have such products for over 5 years already. Obviously, they're called different. They're called ETPs here in Europe. Legally, they are different in terms of structure. But for the end investor, it's the same look and feel. And any retail, any family office, any independent asset manager has been able to invest via an ISIN, via the bank, via a brokerage account, as easy as possible.
Perfect. And in other type of assets, you mentioned that your company is also working about precisely the digitization of assets, about tokenized assets.
Yes. So maybe first on the ETP side, obviously we don't only offer Bitcoin, we also we have the largest offering of crypto ETPs, because we believe we just want to provide access to any kind of investment. So we have Bitcoin, obviously, we have Ethereum, we have many altcoins, including Uniswap, Aave, Chainlink. We recently launched Celestia, Lido, and many, many more. But we also offer like basket products where you invest in the top 5 or top 10 crypto assets. And one product which I like as well is Bold. So we combine Bitcoin and gold, which equals Bold. So it's really a combination of the two biggest and largest alternative products combined in one. And I never been a gold bug, but when we had to do the research, it was quite fascinating how those two assets work together. It's really like a romance, very low correlation, but in combination, they have a really good performance, yes.
And what are the main target markets with regard to your firm?
I mean, the big one was obviously the US. It is the biggest market by far, so that was the highest priority. We been established in Europe for many years now, but obviously we wanna expand as much as we can. I think there's a lot of interesting markets, especially I'm waiting for the UK to open up. I think the Middle East is very, very interesting, and there's a lot of opportunity. And lastly, I think, Asia, especially around Hong Kong, seems promising sooner or later as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Adrian. So you really gave us your perspective as a digital asset issuer. Maybe Pablo, from your side, being somehow an originator of such digital assets, could we maybe explain your perspective about digital assets and the new terminology that is pushed by your company?
Yeah, so we are working on assetization. That is a much broader concept than just tokenization. It basically have inside securitization and tokenization, but because what we identify in the market is that blockchain technology is solving many of the frictions that we see in the existing financial system, like settlements, for instance, is a huge progress that is being made, for instance, with Project Guardian pushed by JP Morgan or Onyx, that is their digital asset arm. So basically what we identify is that we can innovate with the traditional means in the financial system by creating securities that allows to put inside any type of asset. It can be digital assets, of course, but also it can be a real estate property. So we see that there is a tremendous opportunity there, because so far a lot of institutional players were scared of opening accounts in digital exchanges. So banks like Amina were filling that gap, but still they are used to trade securities with ICE. No? So this is where basically we come with assetization, and we give these players the container to put any asset inside.
And to this day, what are the main private assets that you have presently created through the form of digital assets?
So we've seen a lot of tokenization in real estate. That's something that I think is evolving quite fast, and there is a lot of demand. In my opinion, we still need to have a more concentrated markets, because nowadays it's super fragmented, so the liquidity is still a problem. Also, there are many tokens on private debt, for instance, instruments. That's something that is growing a lot. And obviously, we've seen in the past US treasuries that have been also tokenized and traded over the blockchain.
Thank you so much, Pablo. And maybe after that perspective on assetization, very broad scope of digital assets, it would be key if to have your insights as a, should I say, a new type of traditional banker for previously Seba Bank, now Amina Bank, about maybe the main bankable products on which you're currently working on.
Yes. So I think, I mean, with blockchain, you can actually, I think here we have the whole ecosystem. Actually, I mean, we four together, we can in a way have the entire ecosystem with the infrastructure. You create the product, you create also the easy, you assetize. We are just a bank, we are still this sort of a middleman here. But the idea that there's kind of a new types of asset. Currently, obviously, Amina is mainly focusing on the typical crypto asset, but this is only a start. We have also the stable coins. The idea is to bring them at one place and to facilitate, really to simplify. Because one of the main issues for traditional investors that want to have a first foot into the crypto space is, first of all, it's quite complicated. Second, you know, at the end of the day, you need to regulate this kind of wealth. You need to have a sort of a bank statement that you can send to the tax authorities. And if you do it via exchanges, it can be a bit cumbersome. Third element is also, you know, it's nice to buy and hold things, but it's also nice when you can sell and have cash and then spend your cash. This is, by the way, something that most of our private clients like. We have an example of a rich young guy who was smart enough to mine Bitcoin long time ago. That's really sort of a story that you read in a book, but it exists. This guy is extremely rich, but he cannot do anything because buying coffee with Bitcoin is not really appropriate. He would like to buy Lambo. How can he do that? And obviously, if you can have a bank when you can store and custodize your Bitcoin, you can spend in Swiss franc or in euro, and you can buy these kind of things. So I mean, this is really one of the elements that we are doing. So and I'm just saying that on purpose. I know this is a banking symposium, but you know that people deep in crypto don't think a bank necessary. I think this is still the case for this kind of situation because they regulate. And one of the key things is indeed to bring as much, let's say, assets, wherever they are, whether they are crypto or maybe later on securities or really tokenized assets, real estate, into a system that works 24/7 to create some additional liquidity. And on the top of that, to offer also all the different services. For example, you can have a loan on crypto. You can pledge your crypto. Bitcoin, for example, get a Swiss franc or euro loan. You can manage your portfolio with traditional assets on the top of crypto, or the other way around. You can add some, protection with crypto derivative on the top of that. So I think there's still a nice way to combine the existing financial system and all the products that have existed for ages and will continue to exist with this new asset. So I think this is, in a way, in a nutshell, what we try to do to make it be the bridge between the crypto guys needed banking and the banked person needed also some crypto exposure, and trying to make it as simple as possible.
Thank you, Yves. So now we've seen the origination, the issuance, and then the key role from the market intermediary. Now we are also assessing the secondary market liquidity and also the processing of these assets through the key eyes from yourself, Paolo, from SDX and key market infrastructure in Switzerland.
Yeah, sure. So, SDX was very innovative as we obtain a FINMA license to build and actually run a digital security exchange, which is running now since more than 2 years. We have issued, thanks to our partner and members, several security. And the long-term vision is to make the whole process much more efficient and convenient for all the participants. And I'm talking about, as Pablo mentioned, the post trade, the possibility to have instant settlement, peer-to-peer transaction, removing the counterparty risk, and therefore also reducing the cost that financial institution needs to deal with. Together with this new asset class, which is cryptocurrency, where we are providing the infrastructure needed for banks that are approaching this new asset class, so they can feel comfortable on managing the custody, staking infrastructure, and post-trade. We are also active together with the SNB in exploring wholesale CBDC, as the cash leg is an important part of this digitalization of security. At the moment, there are different approach to the problem. You have like stable coin, you have tokenized cash, such as the one that we are using currently in our digital exchange for Swiss franc and euro. However, with now project Helvetia Free, which was recently announced by the SNB, we have real Swiss franc issued directly by the Swiss national banks on SDX infrastructure, which can be used to settle digital security on our exchange, but also for settled transaction across banks. This is, of course, wholesale CBDC, so this is not available to the retail market. So only banks and institutional players will have access to this wholesale CBDC. And that is really going to introduce much more efficiency in the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, because with the ECB, there would be few experiments by the summer, but with the SNB, to some extent, it's to a much larger scale projects.
Exactly. I mean, last December, we actually executed 2 settlements in production. So I would say this is probably the first successful pilot, because still a pilot, of World CBDC in a production environment. And again, the Swiss National Bank is focused only on wholesale CBDC. I think we see on the European central banks also running pilot for retail CBDC. That's not going to happen in Switzerland. But for us as a digital financial market infrastructure, solving the problem of the cash is key, and we believe that with this pilot that we are running with SMB, it is now possible.
Okay, thank you so much, Paolo. So we have started the discussion by addressing the approval by the SEC of spot ETF BTC based. There would be future discussion about spot ETFs on Ether. Maybe Paolo, what would be your views about the potential outcomes of such approval, and maybe with regard to that specific issue, are there some development within SDX?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Adriano said, actually, we have ETP now since several years on our exchange, and probably they are not successful as the ETF in the US, but especially in the last few weeks, we see like a lot of demands also for these products. As a SIX group, a few days ago, we have announced a new guideline for ETP products, which should bring more confidence to investors. We have introduced certain rules for product issuers that want to list crypto products on our exchange, especially regarding liquidity of the underlying assets, regarding market cap, but also custodians. So it is, the product issuer needs to be licensed. If not, they have to rely on a licensed custodians, and also they need to be able to demonstrate that the assets are available at any time in case of need. So I believe that also from a Swiss perspective, these new guidelines should bring more attention to this industry, should give more confidence to the investors that maybe they would like to have an exposure on Bitcoin or other crypto assets through these ETP products.
Oh, thank you. And to the other panelists, precisely with regard to this potential future approval, what would be, from your perspective, the main outcomes in Switzerland and beyond?
Well, I mean, I think we are seeing what Adriano, the figures that Adriano gave. These are impressive number. So this is positive for this industry. It gives a new channel for specific clients that maybe they were not able to invest directly on the underlying assets. So thanks to these products, they can get exposure. They are able to have Bitcoin through these products on their balance sheet. So I think this will, of course, bring more development around the custodians that needs to serve these product issuers, to the exchange they have to list these products. So I'm very positive.
Okay. Adrian?
Yeah. So first of all, I jumped in last minute and they printed my little thing wrong. My name is Adrian, but now a lot of people keep on calling me Adriano, and I'm starting to like it, to be honest. I have to say, it gives like a.
But it's
nice
also my Italian background.
Exactly,
so.
even better, even better. No, obviously we are very excited for a potential Ethereum ETF as well. To be fair, we have an outstanding application with the SEC, so I'm not able to go into the details. But obviously, in terms of impact, I would say it wouldn't be the same like for Bitcoin. I don't think we see the same amount of volume and inflows like we do for Bitcoin. However, I still think it would be successful. And we have to remember, Ethereum still has only a third or a quarter of the market cap of Bitcoin, so it doesn't take as much to have the same impact, even though it's a smaller product. And other than that, I do see some risks as well. I think there's a discussion about potential some concentration risk in terms of centralization. I think that definitely has to be addressed, because just looking at the Bitcoin accumulation speed of those ETFs, I think they bought up 4% already or something in total, over 250,000 Bitcoin, which is absolutely insane, but obviously doesn't pose as high of a risk in a proof of work system. But in terms of Europe, I just think it's going to ignite, and people again going to be reminded, hey, we have such products here in Europe for quite some time, even including staking. So it will benefit our European business as well. I'm sure of that.
Yes, on the so the Bitcoin ETF is obviously very nice, because we all know that when the US says something on this side on something, it's kind of the world agree with that. So now it's kind of Bitcoin is legal in a way. It's kind of regulated, and it opened the door to everything. But anyway, Bitcoin is also the simplest crypto ever, because it just do Bitcoin. It doesn't do anything else. And we know this is the kind of the only crypto which is not a security according to the SEC. So in a way, the Bitcoin ETF is nice, but it's still very narrow. I think if we've got an ETF on Ethereum, then it will also answer the question about whether Ethereum is a securities or not, and this is still an open question. And I think that depending on the answers, it will have huge implications for the development of the, let's say, for the assetized, tokenized, or let's say, bankable assets of crypto, because potentially it can open, if this is Ethereum, why isn't it Solana tomorrow, or I don't know, or Polkadot or whatsoever? And maybe later on there will be also DeFi token, or I don't know what. But I think that's really a key decision. So obviously, Bitcoin was the first one, and the first one had the advantage to strike your mind. But I think the second one would be probably less kind of observed. It will make less noise, but I think it will have also, if it happens, will have a longer implication for the future of the entire industry. I think it's an important element.
So as for digital assets, we have mentioned ETFs, private assets, CBDCs, stable coins. One that we have maybe not mentioned, Yves, is crypto derivatives. So with regard to this large evolution of the value of digital assets since the beginning of this year, how do you perceive the potential interests of your clients with regard to crypto-based derivatives, whatever cash settled or physically settled?
I think that everyone is happy when price increase, and usually no one complains, but at some point in time when it's getting really high, people want to manage their own portfolio. So typically this is where traditional finance can enter the system and bring some additional stability to a portfolio, can also need also some new way. I mean, if you are long Bitcoin, you take a directional bet, but we know that finance is much broader than that. You can have different types of bet, and typically you can earn from the volatility of the asset. You can protect your portfolio. You can in a way tweak, or you can adjust, or you can, define the sort of portfolio you want to have. And I think this is typically something that's happened. Usually we have seen that in the last bull market. We've seen that also the clients are asking for different types of assets to take different type of risk, or to different types of exposure to each sort of crypto. So I think this is probably what will come going forward also in this cycle, hopefully.
Okay, perfect. And with regard to last types of asset, which is tokenization, we've mentioned it quickly during the panel. But what would be, to your mind, maybe Pablo, the main points that could be potentially modified in order to amplify and diversify the adoption of tokenized assets in the future?
Yeah, I think, and that's why we are focusing on assetization. I think first we need the mass market to adopt and be able to trade such tokens, and now it's not the case, because it's still, when you talk to, I'm talking from the institutional side, not the retail side, but when you talk to big family offices, big pension funds, they still use the traditional banking system. So they are not going to go to a platform and buy a token, right? So what I think we need to focus is first on building a big market where liquidity can be aggregated, so these big players can come and start buying these tokens. Otherwise, this won't work, no? Because people think, okay, tokenize this building and tomorrow I'm going to have liquidity. That's not the case. Still, you need to find investors for that, no? So that's why I think having bankable assets where you can put inside the digital assets makes life easier, because this is where all the financial intermediaries are using right now, no? So you just take the liquidity from the normal traditional financial system and you put it into this token. So I think that's the way to go through for the moment. Maybe in the future we see exchanges, traditional exchanges moving into tokens, and everyone is using tokens. But again, I think we need to focus on first using blockchain for settlement and so on, so for the innovation within the exchanges, and then talking about the security tokens, because I think that is going to come after this innovation is done at the infrastructure level, that we are not there yet. There are projects like, again, the Project Guardian in Singapore, that it was a massive success. But I think the Bitcoin ETF is a solid proof that the market still uses the banks and the traditional system, and that's why you see this inflow, because before they were not going to Binance, they were not going to exchanges to buy Bitcoin. If I'm a pension fund, I want a bankable security, I want an ISIN. So yeah, I think we still need first to innovate at the exchange level infrastructure to then talk about trading these tokens on different assets.
And maybe, Paolo, from your perspective, do you feel with the project Helvetica and what you have already done with some issuer, both from the issuer and the investor side, a development in its interest for such tokenized bonds or equities?
Yeah, I agree with Pablo, because yes, there are still major challenges that needs to be solved, and here we are not really talking about. I've mentioned in the previous panel, it's not really about supporting a new asset class. It's really to completely redesign the way we handle, we trade, we settle, we clear security. And there are so many stakeholders involved, that including like regulators, policymakers, that this switch is going to take several years. So I think, especially here in Switzerland, we are doing very good progress. I think the project that we have with SNB is a great example. However, I don't believe that in the coming months we are going to see all security available on a digital exchange. That's going to take here. Most probably is going to be a step-by-step approach. But I think there is a lot of interest from different stakeholders, so it's just a matter of time that we will reach that point.
Thank you. And we will see, for example, the clear example of Germany, where it was only last year that electronic securities were created into law, and at the same time there was the evolution between electronic securities and crypto securities. So maybe it won't last 10, 30 years to have many crypto securities. Yeah.
Hopefully not.
If I just want to add something to your point, Paolo, I think what we do observe today, we barely scratch the surface of the potential, because actually what we do is just we we use the existing asset, we add an ease-in, so we go back to square one in a way. So we do not do anything just to simplify life. And obviously, simplifying life is always something good. So it has value, that's fine. What Paolo is doing is obviously has a fundamental more power, but I think it's still a pilot, as you mentioned. And I think that we should not forget about, I mean, Bitcoin is fine, but who cares? What is a blockchain, what it does? It's just a way to store, transfer, own value, identity, everything which has value, even the secrets has value, even if there is no monetary value. And I think potentially creating a system which is regulated, works well when you have central banks, create the new, and I will use big words, the new infrastructure of tomorrow, where you can trade, settle things at the same time, so there is no T+2. It's instantaneous. For banks, you can reduce massively your back office. So it has a huge impact on the future. And I think that what we do now is still we are all in a pilot situations. We barely scratch the surface. And it will take, I don't know, decades probably until we have it. And then there will be the massive change in terms of the entire infrastructure on which the entire financial system is building. And I think it's good to keep that in mind.
Yeah, actually, this is a great point. And I was reading before a document that was saying that, for instance, on the discretionary mandate in a bank, the portfolio manager always needs to keep a cash buffer of 3% because settlements takes time. So they need to have the cash to buy the new securities while they wait for the sold securities to get the cash back. So the drag that they have on this cash is around of 8% if you put it into a balanced portfolio. So for the investor at the end of the day, this is a reduction on cost of 24% just by having a blockchain or a big infrastructure just doing this instant settlement. So that's what I'm saying, that I think that this is where the focus now needs to be because once we have this big infrastructure, this big world, then we will be able to do tokenization and assetization and a lot of things on top of that.
That's what we always say at 21 Shares as well. The future of the crypto and the blockchain especially is quite boring actually, because it's just financial infrastructure. In a few years we're not gonna see it. There's not gonna be any. From the outside it looks very crazy sometimes, this industry, but in the end it's actually a very boring future. A good and efficient one, but maybe a boring one.
Thank you so much. I would like really to thank the panelists, to thank also the Crypto Value Association and the organizer of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.